You might have heard about that physicist, that crazy physicist Michio Kaku. He seems a little bit crazy, but actually he is really intelligent, and I mean, obviously he is really successful and everything, but what I mean is that he is able to simplify complicated concepts, and he's able to explain them in simple words, and I am a great proponent of that. I really like what Richard Feynman always said, that if you understand something, you have to be able to transmit it with easy words. And if you want to know more about that, then check out my blog post of about the Feynman technique, learning technique. And this book is called The Future of the Mind. It's not about physics like most of his other books. Until now I have read The Future of Physics, I think, and Impossible Physics, and the future of something like 100 years, or it's a long time ago I read those books, but I'll certainly reread them because they were really good. He even explained concepts of artificial intelligence in a way which I have never heard or read in other places, and I study some machine learning and AI related things, so I'm a big fan of Michio in that sense, that he explains things really good. So he explains in this book that if we look at the basic structure of our brains, we can see how it evolved from the reptilian brain, and then on top of that came the mammalian brain, and then the prefrontal cortex. The reptilian brain is responsible for the basic functions necessary to survive, like control of the body functions, reproduction, fight or flight response, and so on. The mammalian brain consists of the limbic system and the cerebral cortex, and is responsible for higher order thinking and so complex social interactions. And then the prefrontal cortex is the part behind the front of our foreheads, and it's responsible for this big ability we possess to plan way ahead in the future and for rational thinking. So yes, as Richard Dawkins says in his book, The Selfish Gene, we are the only species capable of planning way ahead in the future and or simulating way ahead, because if we imagine, then we are basically simulating a scenario. For example, we don't have to jump from a building to know what will happen. We can imagine that, for example, if we jump from, I don't know, from 2 meters height and it hurts a little bit, then we can imagine, based on that information, simulate in our heads that it probably will hurt a lot more if we jump from 10 meters. And so we don't have to jump. This simulating machine which we have saves us from trial and error. And normally species had to try something before they learned, and often that means obviously death. And so thinking ahead is really useful. Then he explains the 2 hemispheres of the brain and how they did experiments in which they ask, for example, people who suffered from epilepsy, I think. Yeah, people who had an issue with the communication between the two halves, the left and right hemisphere, and then they ask the one hemisphere a question and then the other hemisphere, basically by closing eye and so on, and they gave different answers. For example, they wanted different jobs, or one half said that it was atheist and the other one said it was believer. So it's really interesting. The left hemisphere is always associated with rational thought and language and so on, and the right for more holistic and integrating imagination and stuff like that. So yes, then he goes into a lot of different experiments and how we will in the future connect our brains with computers, and there are already have been experiments with mice in which they implanted thoughts in the brain of the mice, or read those thoughts from them by detecting the patterns of activity in the neurons. And if we are able to construct a dictionary of patterns from our brain and associate them with words, then we could in theory generate a telepathic device, because it would directly read our minds and transfer that to another person, for example. That would be really cool. And also telekinesis could be done, obviously, if a computer is capable of reading your thoughts and you can control it with your thoughts, then you can move a robot or machinery, and basically it will be analog to telekinesis. Maybe not cool like in the movies where they do it only with mental powers, but anyways. So that's a quick overview. If you want more details, check out my blog post, and see you next time.